Hello and welcome to the Latte show. I suppose we're back here again, Anthony. We skipped a weekend. Episode 4. Where are we today?
So we're in the Hungry Bear. It's in Gorey, County Wexford. So a lovely coastal town in County Wexford for you to come down and visit. So
we know Gorey well.
Yeah, we kind of our relations are all from up the road there in Coolgraney. So we used to come into Coolgraney as chaps, or to Gorey as chaps, and go shopping with Ma up the Pettis there. So it's kind of a...
Yeah, and I did my driving lesson actually as well, or my driving test. So
yeah, so we're familiar enough with the town, and even though we are Carlow men, like, we would kind of have to venture down to Gorey a good bit as chaps, but just I suppose wouldn't mind chatting a little bit about where we are and what this place is about. And so first of all, thanks very much for the owner Ken for having us. You know, we're over the moon with the reception that we've had from cafes and in general, and you know, long may it continue, I suppose. Ken is actually the owner of the Hungry Bears, but he's also the head chef and he runs the kitchen here as well. And one thing in particular about the Hungry Bear is that, you know, everything they do well. So whether that's the food that they put out in front of you, or as far as the coffee they make, you know, they really put care and attention to everything that they do. And you know, that's something that stands to them, you know, with customers coming back, and that's what one thing in particular that customers would say when they come here, is that everything is, you know, always, you know, up to a high standard. You know, they cook everything to order here, so nothing's kind of microwaved, or, you know, everything's fresh, ready to go. A lot of it's locally sourced as well. And they do have some really good vegan options, and we were having a look at the menu there as well. Ken was saying to us there's a couple of options to go to is on the menu. Maybe you want to go into them a bit, Drew?
Yeah, I suppose we'll have a look at the old menu here. We have it here in front of us. I suppose the breakfast is a big one here at the Hungry Bear. The different breakfast options they have. So they have the veggie breakfast, they have French toast, and buttermilk pancakes. I do enjoy.
So Ken was saying,
pancakes.
look, if there was anything like, you know, a must try when you do come down here, he was saying, you know, either the pancakes or the French toast, as well as obviously there's the other options on it, the vegan breakfast options, as well as basically everything is very appetizing looking there when you actually have a look at it. But the homemade buttermilk pancakes there, definitely at the go-to when you do arrive down here for
and Ken
for
was
coffee.
even saying that he's noticed a bit more people kind of local tourism kind of coming down to the town a bit more. So I suppose that's one thing that Gorey might have been able to see in the last couple of months, as people have been kind of holidaying at home. Maybe that's been giving the local area a bit of a boost. But yeah, if you're from around the country, wherever you're from, Galway, Dublin, Carlow, wherever you're from, head to Gorey on a bit of a holiday. Coretown's only down the road. There's plenty of crack really to get going. I'm sure the pubs are open soon enough as well.
Yeah.
So you could book an old table there in what's the name? McGovern's?
McGovern's is up the road.
Pubs, yeah.
So no,
there's plenty of stuff to be at for your own local holiday staycation.
Exactly, and you know, even if you're only going for a swim up down the beach there, pop into Hungry Bear for your coffee in the morning.
Give them a tag on the Instagram. Give us a tag on the Instagram. Say thanks.
Definitely, and spread the word. And that's what we're all about. Like, we want to get the kind of names of all these kind of local cafes that are kind of, especially they're local to ourselves, but you know, get them out there, spread the word, and that's how we'll get the ball rolling and increasing. Make them busier, they'll be happier then. Yeah, and that's exactly it.
So we need to give local businesses a boost in this time of the year, or this time
in general,
the way things are going. You need to just give a hand, give that extra bit of money if you have it. Spend it locally, spend it in the businesses that will need it most.
Actually, worth mentioning there, the coffee that they're using in the Hungry Bear, it's Ariosa coffee. So what they do is they get their house coffee beans that they get kind of every time they order, and then they'll have a second option there, whether they might go for a Guatemalan, which was on a couple of weeks ago. This week is the Brazilian, and then every couple of weeks Ariosa will give them a few options for maybe to change it up a bit, and then they go for a different blend each week or every couple of weeks. So
that there alone really kind of shows the kind
how
of
much they care and
the care they're putting into their menu,
the attention that they
even,
put into it.
Yeah, the coffee's being like really thought about, the food's being thought about, and it's shown. Is there a couple of Ken was telling you earlier? There's a couple of places that appeared as good foodie places to be heading.
Up just foodie places, or
I'm not sure if you wrote it down or what, but anyway.
yeah, no, I can't remember there, to be honest. I wouldn't be like me, but one thing he was saying was, we were talking about, he doesn't only go to Ariosa for his alternative choice of coffee that he has, so he might go to 3FE, which you would have heard a couple of podcasts ago. He might try Bean and Dingle. You know, there's plenty of specialty roasters around, and you know, it's all fairly local, small time, doing their own kind of advertising, trying to get their name out there. And Hungry Bear, you know, would obviously be the type of cafe to try them and give them the support as well, you know. So look, we'll get into, I suppose we wanted to chat a little bit about some stuff in the news. So what's happening this week, Drew?
I suppose yesterday evening a video came out that we were chatting about earlier that was like, it's a bit annoying to see. Leo Varadkar was out in the middle of a park somewhere yesterday afternoon. I think he was videoing with a team to put out some sort of an update about the new measures coming in, and basically just some sort of a social media campaign to let people know about the new measures the government are looking to put out. And a woman walks up to the group, starts chatting to one of the camera crew, and then 2 or 3 seconds later she walks up and throws a drink over Varadkar, who's standing there with a pad in his hand, and she immediately
sprints it away.
And not only does she sprint away, she litters as well. She throws the cup onto the ground. So we were kind of talking about that, how kind of it was a bit unwarranted, I suppose.
Yeah, like I seen a load of comments under the video I was watching, like, oh, get this girl a medal, and you know, well done, fair play, like stick it to the man, all this kind of crack. And it's kind of like, to be honest, like I don't think what has he done to warrant that. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't have envied the task that was in his hands over the last few months, and like, I don't know, I just thought it was
a bit of a cheap shot, like just kind of you're approaching a man in the middle of a park, and you wouldn't do it to anybody else, like, you know what I mean, no matter what someone's
job you're in, like, or what, like, that's his job, like whatever he's performing or whatever. But I thought he dealt with it fairly well, though. What were you saying? He was like, he
basically came out after and just said, he thought it was Avril Lavigne coming up with the skateboard in her arm and all. Yeah, no, I thought he played it well now in the old interview after, because he didn't kind of show, even if it did phase him, like, he didn't let it show, because like, Jesus, he was just kind of trying to make a joke of it and say, look, I had a spare suit, like, so it was grand. Yeah, and I think he was saying that he had finished filming and everything, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I think he was kind of playing it down. Like, I don't think anyone would like, if they're in the middle of doing some work or whatever, that they get something chucked over them. Like, when you see that sort of stuff happening abroad, you kind of aren't, you're not really sure about, like, whether it's right or wrong, but you've seen it happen and it's kind of funny. It happened to Nigel Farage, I think, over in the UK at one stage, and he's a bit of a, right now, he's probably very right-winged in his ideologies and everything. So he's like, a lot of people just really despise him. But if you're looking at Irish politicians, there's no one that's kind of slotting into that category of they do all sit on severe the fence, right or severe left, that warrants some sort of physical altercation to attack them with a drink or whatever. Whatever about him being conservative and he's centre right or whatever, and he has his opinions and he has his beliefs, and that's what Fine Gael is. It's a centre right party or whatever, and that's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, you can vote for another option, and that's what democracy is. Don't go up and attack him with a coffee and leg it away, like, you know what I mean. It's just a bit sad, like, that's kind of Like I've seen a couple of comments basically saying, Ireland's one of those countries, one of the last countries left where TDs, as ministers, Taoiseachs or prime ministers can be in a bar and you can be in a bar with them and there's not that big of a deal made about it. You wouldn't see that sort of thing happening in most major countries.
UK.
And if something like that were to continue happening, where politicians were attacked on the streets with stuff thrown at them or abuse thrown their way, you might start seeing less of that kind of community, I suppose less TDs showing themselves in the community and being afraid to kind of go out and about to the public.
Yeah.
So
and it'd be more
I think it's a bit disappointing, like, really.
Us and them at that stage then, really, wouldn't it?
And it's a bit of an Americanization of politics. It's like, they're doing it over there, throwing stuff at people that they don't agree with, so why don't we do it in Ireland? And it's just a bit sad that you can't just go about things in different ways, like, but I suppose that's the way it's all going, isn't it? What else? I suppose that happened on the morning of measures to be announced by Micheál Martin that Dublin were to be put into lockdown at midnight Friday night. I was lucky enough. I was on the way home from work when the announcements were made, so I got back to Carlow for the weekend. Now I'll be heading back up on Sunday, I'd say, and I'll be up for the couple of weeks or whatever
until it's over, I suppose.
So I'll bring the Xbox up and I'll be getting a few games in the shop and I'll be spending my evenings alone doing very little. But it's not I don't think it's the end of the world. A lot of people are giving out, but you have to make sure the numbers are low. What is the end of the world is the fact that all these restaurants are getting closed again. And it's the second time they're getting closed, and people are going to end up losing their jobs for the second time. That's really where it hurts. Whatever about only letting like
6
one
people
family into your house at a time, and I suppose that's the sad part. And it seems to me that there's an awful lot of people who are really taking the piss of things when they're having their house parties, and you see like even like. The night the restrictions were meant to go in last night, there was streets in Dublin just packed with people at bars, like
basically getting their last few pints in.
And even earlier than that, I saw a video of hundreds of people being evicted out of a house because they were at a house party. Not evicted, they were just being streamed out of a house. The Gardaí were there, and all these people with cans and all, like, just cheering and going whoop. But it's like they're like, do they not realise that sort of action is causing businesses to be shut down, businesses that they can enjoy if they're open? You know what I mean? You have to kind of cut off your own enjoyment a little bit to then have enjoyment elsewhere, and then the economy is going to be helped that way with businesses open. The economy is not being helped with house parties.
Yeah, I know, you know what I mean? And it's like this anti kind of people are just like, fuck the government, let's just do whatever we want, like they can't tell us what to do, like, but at the same time they're not trying to tell you that just so they can control you, like they're trying to tell you that so that they can get the fucking coronavirus,
keep the virus under control, because like the hospital cases are rising. Once the hospital cases rise, then you'll have hospitals basically at capacity.
Put it into perspective, like people want to get home for Christmas, like if more of this kind of carry on kind of keeps going, like there's going to be family members not being able to come home for Christmas, people not being able to, you know, that kind of way. People aren't going to be able to visit their family over Christmas, because if it keeps going the way it's going, like it's going to be stricter and stricter as we go, like.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I suppose luckily for those counties outside Dublin, Monday is the day that we've all been kind of waiting for. I'm not going to be, obviously I'll be in Dublin at the time, but we're not big drinkers anyway, but I'm happy to see there's pubs at home that are opening again for the first time in like the guts of 6 months.
One of our own personal favourites, like the Dying Cow, is put up on their Facebook. They're only a very, very small pub that in our heads over the last few weeks when we were talking about, like, we're like, how are they going to open with social distancing in place? But they have put up pictures today, and or was it yesterday? They're basically just announcing that they will be open from Monday, which is great to see, because
and they've
small
opened up,
local pub.
They've shown like they've created like more outdoor space. I don't know if that
I think
outdoor
they had
space
the outdoor space,
anyway.
just never really used it as much when we were there anyway.
So at least they'll probably be able to promote the fact that they've got the outdoor spaces, book the table or whatever, and they'll come out and serve you the beer from there.
exactly.
And
And
days,
that's one thing is I was chatting to a few lads. Like they were saying, like once there's table service and you're kind of they're fairly strict on keeping to the same table. Like it should be all fine with the pubs opening. Like, and it's probably going to prevent people from going to these house parties as well.
Yeah, there'll be less house parties going on. The only thing is, colleges are starting pretty much this week, next week. Within the next couple of weeks, and I can't imagine what sort of college life is going to be like.
Especially for like whatever about second years, third years, fourth years, like they got to enjoy their first year out of home, but the first year's going up now and to make friends. And like the first thing we did is we organised a class get together in one of someone's house and got to know each other that way over a few beers and went out. Like, you know, that kind of way. It's a much easier way of doing it. Like, but sure, look, I suppose a lot of it's going to be online and they'll get to enjoy that maybe next year, hopefully.
One of the lads has gone back to do a master's, and he was telling me he had his induction day or whatever this week, and he was kind of like, when he went, everyone's wearing masks, everyone's kind of elbowing each other, and they're not really sure what the crack is. And then he was expecting, like, it's the induction day, this is the day you kind of get to meet people and say hello, and this is the people you'll be around for next year or whatever. And they literally went in and they were told, this is your schedule, this is what's going to happen this year or whatever. And then after an hour of that lecture or that kind of event was done, everyone just kind of went, and he was like, where's the kind of, is there no like meet and greet kind of little coffee morning area where you can go and have a chat with people and stuff? And none of that was going on because the colleges are just like, they don't really know like what to do.
No, and they're trying to be as careful as possible to keep the place open, I'd say, as well, like, you know. Yeah, so
I'd say you'll have a lot of people feeling a bit isolated and stuff, which isn't great. So you'd like to see kind of some sort of social distancing events organised by the colleges or the SUs or that.
Yeah, I don't even know.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
Yeah, wouldn't even be like, it'd be a tough challenge. Like, what I was actually, that's actually not bad. I was thinking, that reminds me of the student union crack there. So we were talking about college stories last week, and like we kind of only got to touch off a few of them that we were thinking of talking about. So we have a few that we'd like to talk about today as well. And
call it College Crack Part 2. College Crack Part 2
kind of thing. Yeah, like, and one of the stories there that I was reminded of last week was there was a student union presidency kind of up for grabs in Athlone when I was in fourth year, and there was the two kind of front runners were campaigning against each other for a couple of weeks before, and you know, leading up to the kind of the final, what would you say, when they're two were questioning,
just debate or whatever.
Yeah, the last debate. One of the candidates had kind of dug up some shit on the other one, and kind of wanted to smear them, basically. It started a smear campaign in the kind of upcoming week leading to the debate. So he planted 3 of his mates into the crowd and basically gave them a load of hard questions for him, and, you know, bringing up all this. I don't really remember what he was being accused of doing.
So he had some dirt, I suppose, on his opposition.
But it totally backfired. Like, I think your man who he's running against had heard through the grapevines that this is going to happen, and you know, basically the fact that he was trying to smear him was like,
turned on him.
Just turned on him, like, what sort of lad are you? Like, you know, that's such a dick move. Like, you can't win fairly, things like this. So you know, I thought that was the student union part of college is such an unusual vibe. It's like, if you're running to go to the student union, that is like literally one of the most serious parts of college. To take it so serious, and it's like, geez, man, like all it is like the welfare officer of like a student union that you have very little power really anyway, like, but they're so obsessed with getting in. And it's really like a lot of politicians actually are former presidents of their SU and all this sort of crack, because they're just real political kind of people, and they end up going on. So I think Ryan Tuberty was like the SU president of UCD when he was in college and all this stuff. So
It's just, and even like the USI president when we were in college, she's gone on now. Anne Hoy, I think her name is. She's now a Labour TD or Labour senator, and just all these people end up becoming like some sort of big shots. I always find like in the political sphere.
It's not a bad stepping stone.
Like, it's a bit of a stepping stone. I think that's why it's taken so serious. I don't know if that's the same in Athlone or that, but in some of the Dublin universities and stuff, it's taken so serious, and they take the what do they call it, the rules or whatever, the just the rules, the constitution of the SU. They take that so serious, and if you're like needing something changed in the constitution and all, they have these big events to make sure that it's all done properly and everything. It's just a weird world that I never really understood, but I suppose everyone, whatever you're into.
Another story we got sent there was some story we definitely wanted to go through, because
is this pre-story? Well, I'll stop you before we do pre-story. The camera's about to shut off, so we'll
perfect. So we'll start pre-story after the break,
and then after the break we'll get into pre-story.
Well, priest, we say priest. His name's Mark Byrne. His nickname's Priest, but he's one of our close mates. And it's bound to be a great story.
He's a good Hacksound man, and he's got a story from college that we'd like to share. So we'll just pause it now, and perfect. Then we'll get Anthony to do the little pause song.
So, welcome back. So we just had to do a camera break as per usual, guys, but just a couple of points that I'd like to mention as well on the Hungry Bear here, as well as all the great stuff we've mentioned already. Something that's worth noting is that they have a Good Food Ireland award. So basically, Good Food Ireland would make sure that cafes and restaurants are, I suppose, doing what they're saying they're doing. Here at the Hungry Bear, they make all their own, their own produce. So they make their own mayonnaise for sandwiches. They make their own bread. As far as even making sure the chicken is, sourced Irish chicken. And the Good Food Ireland, even, they would come as far as checking where you're buying the produce and making sure that you're doing what you're saying you're doing. And that's another thing that's really kind of unique about the Hungry Bear as well, that they're going through all that to make sure that they're providing a high quality service as they can for their customers. So I thought that was definitely worth mentioning as well.
100%. And like, I suppose as Ken was saying, they come in and they basically check through everything you're doing, and they'll even check the invoices and make sure you're not telling fibs, I suppose, and you're doing it to the high standard you're claiming. And so to get an award off those guys is something really special.
No mean feat.
So I suppose this is the camera break. So if you're wanting to take some time, just go stick the kettle on, put on a coffee there for yourself, even a cup of tea. We don't
discriminate.
We don't discriminate between them. But we're going to come back now in a few seconds, and we'll give you
the college stories.
So talk to you in a second.
Welcome back after the coffee/tea break, and so we were just before the break we were saying we're going to get into a lovely story that was sent in to us. The name of the story is The Curious Case of the Old Man in the Morning. So Andrew's going to read it out there. We might add in some music for effect when we're editing.
Yeah, in the editing process I'll throw in some nice mystical music, storytelling music. So I don't know, I'll click my fingers, and whenever I click, that's when the sound goes. Oh, you hear that? That's something special.
That's some
there.
Nice music.
That's some good music. Right, so a good friend of the podcast, Mark Byrne, sent this story in. So Mark, he's a good few years out of college at this stage, but back in college he lived in a place called Harold Cross, and in Harold's Cross him and a few other Hacksound men lived in this kind of, I would say, shabby little apartment, but it had character anyway.
Yeah, full of character.
Yeah, there were some mad stories, and we might get into some Harold's Cross stories in future podcasts, but this particular story is something that was sent in, so we'll give it a read. So, the curious case of the old man in the morning. So, in Harold's Cross, we tended to not lock the front door ever. Call us too trusting, call us too simple. Anyway, one morning, myself and Gundy is Ronan Byrne, and Ronan Byrne is he's a Tinahely man. So,
Crossbridge, CBNS.
So we can't call him a Hackstown man, but he's another good friend of the podcast. So Gundy opted not to go into college this day. Very fond of the pillow, says Mark. We shared a room at the time. At about 10:30, the pair of us were suddenly awoken by an old man standing in the room. Didn't have a clue who this old man was, Mark says. Get up out of that bed to be fucked, lads, shouted the old man. Get up! If your mother knew you were still in bed at this hour, they'd disown yous. Have yous not college to be going to? I rubbed my eyes sluggishly and looked across at Gundy, equally confused and groggy. The peculiar thing about this morning was neither myself or Gundy felt it necessary to ask this man, "What the fuck are you doing in my room, old man?" Instead, we explained ourselves to this old man. "I've no lectures on Wednesdays, says I. "I'm not in until 2:30, says Gundy. The old man calmed down then. "Where are you from, lads?" he asked. "Carlow," says I. "Wicklow," says Gundy. The old man knew some folk from Carlow, Mount Leinster to be precise. Small world. We conversed for another couple of minutes before the old man bid us a fond farewell and went on his way. I looked over at Gundy, dumbfounded. He shook his head and went back to sleep. I did the same. We never saw the old man again. The end.
That's some story. And that actually just reminds me of the Harold's Cross, when you go up there for a night out or anything. The boys would be 2 or 3 years older than us, so we would have been 6th year going up to the lads in college, and just the crack that used to go on in the house, the house, the pre-drinks and all, and there was this there was an initiation process up in Harold's Cross, where if you were allowed to stay there that night, you had to.
The only way you could come up, most lads from Hackenstown or whatever used Harold's Cross as the house to basically
stay the
night, so that they could go out in Dublin that night with whoever, and they'd make their way back to Harold's Cross then and stay with the lads. But the lads basically, for their own amusement, decided anyone who wanted to stay the night in their house had to go through the initiation of legging it around
the apartment block,
the big block of apartments in their boxers, and do the full lap of the block, and then come back in, and that was your kind of.
And when you arrived to the front door, let me tell you, it was locked, and they were standing at the front door laughing at you.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I never done it myself now. I don't know, I think I just decided that that's just not happening.
Yeah, I know, I got roped into it alright, but as well, I remember Harold's Cross lads, they were great kind of crew once they got their heads together for organising things. And
yeah, because even I remember, I think in one of the podcasts previously, I mentioned that when I was in college for the first few weeks in first year, it was the Harold's Cross lads who organised the charity auction, where I was being auctioned for I think it was for mental health at the time. But
House, I think, could have been.
So they organised that, raised a heap of money for charity, and all it was is because the lads in the house decided they wanted to do something a bit mad.
Yeah.
And even previous to that, they had made the charity wedding.
The mock wedding.
And they raised money for charity then. And all they did was basically get a heap of people from Hackenstown to be characters in a wedding for an excuse for a function to go out and drink,
Yeah.
And they ended up making a lot of money.
And they always pick a really worthy charity, and it's just they're great men for getting things together and calling in favours, and I suppose they're all likeable lads, so they have that leeway that they can call in favours. People
will be happy to get on board with whatever they're kind of doing. So I suppose some of the funny stories from Harold's Cross, they have remember they did a blog at one stage, and they were people reading it every week, and they were getting these mad short stories, and I think that's part of the reason why Mark Byrne, our good friend, has been dubbed the secret Ballyhockade memes page curator.
That's allegedly.
Allegedly, he's never come out and admitted it. He's like what's the artist's name? The artist
Banksy.
He's like Banksy. He's like the Banksy of Carlow, basically.
Of Hackettstown.
Of Hackettstown, yeah. No one knows who he is.
What was I going to say there on the Harold's Cross? I know one story in particular was just sticking out to me there. The boys were playing tip the can, like a bunch of 23-year-old lads going around hiding behind cars in the black dark, going around with a torch trying to find each other, playing tip the can 50-50 or whatever you call it. And they're doing this for a good 15-20 minutes, and next thing they seen the guards pulling up.
Oh yeah.
And the guards caught them, were like, "What are you doing, lads?" And they're like, "We're playing hide and go seek." The boys are absolutely like,
the guards,
how can we tell the guards that we're playing hide and go seek?
Neighbours just seeing a bunch of young lads legging it around their area, and we're thinking,
hiding behind cars in the dark,
acting suspicious. So they're like, "Oh no, get the guards on!"
Yeah,
try
we're
and
going to
spook
be
these lads
burgled
away,
probably by these young lads.
But
and the guards come up and goes,
idiots from Hackettstown.
"Cop on, lads, these are too old to play. Fucking tip the can, go back inside. You're annoying your neighbours." Because the boys are probably cackling away, like laughing and joking and all, messing around. But
stop.
That's the kind of crack the boys used to get up to during the week when they had no college work to be at.
Yeah, plenty of college work, I'd say.
Yeah.
Is there any other stories that we have written down? Some of the
I suppose throw it right back to when we would have first went. Our first camping trips could be good stories there.
Cause back to our early teenage years when we decided to drink
experiment with alcohol,
for the first time with alcohol, and I suppose we thought we were mega legends, as they say. We thought we were legends camping out the back of one of the lads' gardens.
Yeah, we were camping out the back of Geordie's garden, and we thought.
Do you want to basically set the stage there with that?
Yeah, so we had, I suppose it's like a 6-man tent with 2 pods either side, and then the middle bit was for kind of all your stuff. And leading up to this camping night anyway, like, you know, one of the lads, Bren, we were like, you know, we knew his outlet would have a few cans in the press, or, you know, whatever, like, we're all kind of saying, sure, get a can or
Someone
two, just
find a can
so they won't notice that it's gone, but, you know, we need a couple or whatever. So anyway, that plan kind of didn't really work. None of us bothered trying. Geordie didn't bother trying. Brent arrived with 2 cans Budweiser. So you're like, right, sure, that'll have to do. But anyway, that night, anyway, between the 4 of us, we had these 2 cans.
What age were you at that stage?
I think we were only about 13, and the boys were about 15.
Yeah,
maybe
we were very
even younger. 12 and 14.
About 13, I'd say. We wouldn't have been that much younger than that.
And we had, myself, yourself, and Geordie had the 1 can, probably 3/4 of the can.
Yeah, I
just
remember
passing it over and back to each other.
And I was just like, jeez,
I'm drunk.
This doesn't taste nice at all. So I was like putting it up to my lips and not drinking any and just passing on, because I was like, I'm going to throw up if any of this.
And then sure, Bren decided he's going to have a full can and probably some of ours as well.
Yeah, because he was the older lad, so he just
and then
took
sure
control.
Then Bren ended up getting absolutely bollocks drunk, and you and Geordie were having to mind him. He was we lay him outside the tent with his head hanging out the tent, just in case he got sick after 1 can. Like, some crack.
Yeah.
I remember that night as well, we decided we would face the tent like to the back ditch of the garden, so that if the parents looked out they wouldn't see us or whatever. And we decided the next night we were going to go to the field behind Geordie's house as opposed to his back garden, I remember. And this time we actually did get beer. Do you remember up the road, Helmet, Bernhagen? He used to brew his own beer, German man.
Used to be a family friend. Like,
yeah.
So I think he had some sort of like
home
cider or
kit.
Beer. He had a home kit and created this really weird kind of
strong
beer.
German lager or something it was.
So we ended up getting it into the house as a present or something. But sure, my dad never went near it, like,
no.
And it was just stuck in the corner of the kitchen somewhere of the one of the old rooms in the house, and it was just there for probably about a year.
Oh, easy. And we were like,
grabbed it.
Like, we never brought it to the table the last time.
Yeah, we used to always see them, but we never went near them or whatever. But then when the second camping trip came around, we were like, right, we'll rob a few of them, and Mum and Dad will never know, and we brought them with us, and they literally were like cider vinegar, basically, trying to drink
rotten.
that. They were just absolutely rank, and that, like, lads, like, I can't remember, did we drink them or what, but
I think it was similar. We just kind of all tried them and shared them, and
I just thought these are fairly rotten, but
rotten,
that must be
but
what alcohol tastes
we
like.
drank them anyway. Thought we were right, lads. And I remember the next morning then, Geordie's father came out to the back of the field and found taking all these. They were in the old glass Lucasade bottles. They were
Oh yeah,
with
like
the red
kinda
lids.
like milk bottles almost.
Yeah, and he was like, "Where the feck did they come out of, like, or whatever?" And little did we know, little did he know, they were from.
And sure, he
Helmet.
knew well that we were like probably going to be throwing cans or bottles.
Yeah, he probably
out.
was trying to
So
tidy
he
up
was
after
like,
us.
I'll get them just so that the farmer doesn't give out.
Yeah, that's actually thinking about Helmet there. It's same. He used to go up to the outside Keely's and up to the pubs the morning after the kind of the Friday night or the Saturday night, looking around the outside of the pubs where lads would be out smoking for
Yeah.
money on the ground and coins on the ground.
Oh,
He
really?
used to collect them all, but he used to come home with €50 the morning after. Just he's just an old, cute old whore.
Yeah, Jesus. I can't really remember him too well because like that was a long time ago, really.
Yeah,
But what you call it? Did he used to work in the SO at one stage?
yeah. He worked in the ESO for ages and just filling your diesel and helping you with the gas cylinders and
Yeah.
clean your car.
He was like
and-
German or Austrian or something.
Yeah, I think he was German and his
Yeah, of all
wife
places
Ilse
to
was
settle.
Austrian. You
Of all-
drive, huh?
Of all places to settle down from,
Yeah,
from
in the middle of
Germany and
Hackestown.
Austria is in the middle of Hackestown, yeah. But I suppose it's one of those things, though, isn't it? The kind of coming of age things is like those first experiences, kind of going rebelling against your parents telling you what to do or whatever, and you're deciding
sure.
to do your own thing, and like you're making mistakes, but like that's how you
Harmless
kinda-
enough.
They're harmless enough, and you end up growing enough with those mistakes and realizing like how much is your limits, and you
Yeah.
have to kind of have these things.
Sure. Remember Geordie's 18th. Me
Yeah,
and you we would have been hanging around with lads a couple of years older than us. Just from
the way-
primary school, we were always in the class. There was
Yeah.
so little of us. We were all we were always with the class above, like, so the lads in the class above would be our mates as well, and so we would have been like 16 going to one of our mates' 18th.
all the lads are turning 18, but we were 16 at the time.
Yeah,
So like we were like obviously not as developed or whatever as the lads, so
We wouldn't have been able to drink at
for
all
drink,
either,
but we
like,
were trying to be able to like
keep
drink
up
with
with
the
them.
lads or whatever,
Yeah.
if, like who were all like of age. So Geordie was one of the first ones to turn 18,
We had,
and he had a party out in Kiltegan.
we had pre-drinks there in his house before we went, and myself and yourself thought it was a great idea to get a litre of vodka between the two of us.
Yeah, because like, why would you get the
I
other
get-
ones? Because you could just it's cheaper just to go in on to
And sure, we decided anyway we were going to drink, I think with Red Bull or something, and we were just
Yeah.
drinking away. But we arrived late to the fucking pre-drinks as well, and we were trying to catch up. And I only probably had about a third of the bottle, and you had 2/3 of the bottle.
Yeah, because I didn't realise, and when you said you had finished, I presumed you were finished your half.
As in my half,
so
yeah.
I was like, all right, so the rest of that must be part of my half. So
I think I
like,
was just
okay.
feeling it, like I was like, Jesus, I'm fairly bollocks. Like,
Yeah.
we
and so
drank
I
it very
didn't-
quick.
I didn't feel it until I walked out the door, and I remember it really well for a night that I don't remember that well. But I remember we were all in Geordie's room, and there was the whole of his year or whatever, and we were all chilling, having great crack. And the bus arrived
Someone
outside
said the bus is
to
arriving
bring-
downtown.
Yeah, to bring
we
us.
have to walk down to the bus.
Yeah, to bring us to Kiltegan, which was
3
5-10
miles
minutes
away.
away. So I remember walking out Geordie's front door with everyone, and literally, like that,
Gone.
I wake up in bed with a sick bucket beside me. I think Dad was in the other side of the bed, basically waiting. He must have been minding me all
Make
night.
sure you didn't.
Yeah, and I woke up dead sober as well. I was just like, I feel great. Like,
Yeah, you
and
went
I
to
was
bed
like,
early.
Jesus, I'm after missing the whole night.
I got away with it because, yes, I was quite drunk, and Manda would normally hate that, like us coming home drunk. So I got away with it because you were so bad. But basically, I remember the bus journey over, like, and I'd say just the air hit you and just wiped you, because you were up kind of the front of the bus, but you were kind of gone, like there was someone sitting beside you kind of minding you on the way over. Then when we all arrived, people were helping you off the bus, and they didn't bring you in. They brought you around the side of the talk of the town to the benches out around the back, and just sat with you when trying to get you to get sick or just to wake you up a bit, and where everyone was bringing you water and all. And I was fucking barely able to walk, trying to see if we were alright and all. Anyway, the decision was made. I think Dharma wasn't around that evening, they were gone off somewhere, so the decision was made, phone call to Uncle PJ.
No, I think PJ was there.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, I thought he was there.
No, PJ, our friend PJ rang Dad and was like, Andrew is fucked, like we need to bring him home.
Oh, alright.
And Dad rang his brother then, because he wasn't around, so Uncle PJ came with his son, I think it was Gavin and Wesley came, and they had to basically, two of them had to basically carry you to the car while I stumbled behind you. And they brought us home anyway, and I remember them telling us like that you were just dead weight, and I was leaning up against the counter anyway, and my Uncle PJ goes to me, you were bollocks, and you might think you're getting away with this, but you're worse, you're just as bad, and you haven't fell asleep yet. And I was like just pretending I was grand. Oh God. But yeah, no, it's a good old story. The first that was the first time we probably drank properly.
Yeah, and
it didn't really go too well.
I don't really drink vodka since then, because even like I remember just going to nightclubs and stuff in the years kind of like as I turned 18 and different things, and you know they'd always have like vodka Red Bulls or whatever for like €3 or something cheap. Yeah. I remember even just drinking one, and I wouldn't actually be that drunk for the rest of the night, but the next morning I wouldn't remember anything. So I'd be like, what the hell happened last night? Was I really bad? And then everyone would be like, no, you're actually grand. And then I check my wallet and loads of money still or whatever. I didn't actually spend that much and had a normal enough night. But my memory just, since that day in Geordie's, when I have vodka, my memory just goes. So I stay away from it altogether, really.
Yeah, because we were definitely home and in bed by 10 o'clock, I'd say.
Yeah. But that's it, like, and then even Mam was like saying that she was giving out stink to me. And I was just standing there, like, looking at her, like, as if, like, I couldn't actually see her. It was like my eyes are just glazed over. And I suppose I never got as bad as that, really, again. Even, like, throughout college and everything, like, I always kind of... I don't think I've had any horror stories as bad as that. I suppose, but that's your luck. You always have your one, and then that's it. You kind of move on.
Yeah. I say a few people have more than one to try and learn their lesson, though.
Yeah.
I'd say I've had a few...
You have one, I'd say, or one or two we might mention in another podcast.
Maybe, yeah.
But I suppose it's getting to 45 minutes where we wrap it up over the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there anything else that we had written down there? We'll try and scratch
out. We covered everything we kind of wanted to cover. Could finally wrap it up by just saying, if you ever are down, even, down anywhere around Gorey or, like, there's plenty of kind of, even within a 20 mile radius of Gorey, there's plenty to see up along the Wicklow coast and down the Wexford coast, so it's definitely somewhere kind of perfectly central between British and all the beaches up that way, and then even Gorey Town and down below.
Hill climbing Craic and just down the road. Then you have the beaches, like multiple beaches along the kind of main coastal road.
So get down here to Hungry Bear in Gorey. Throw them in your Instagram story. If you came down here because you've heard it on this podcast, throw us in the Instagram story and just say thanks for the recommendation. Yeah. It'll get our name out there as well, which is obviously something we'd like.
But thanks and if you have any other stories, I suppose, if you have any mad stories you think would be worth story time, we might throw a few story times into the podcast from here on. If you wanted to send us on some mad stories, and we'll throw the music over them, we'll get the mood lit, and we'll read
just
out
drop us a DM
stories.
Lads. We're more than happy to hear whatever you want. If you want to talk about something in particular, give us a shout. Any cafes or any kind of particular places you want us to go see and try out, drop us a DM as well, and we'd be happy to go see them places.
But for now, we'll talk to you again.
Good luck. Good night. God bless. Thanks a million.